I'm Lauren, and I thought I knew the man I married, Thomas, with his wild spirit and ocean-deep eyes that could pull me under in a heartbeat. 6 years of marriage, a quiet life by the sea, and yet, when he begged me to join him and his band of reckless brothers on a Caribbean cruise, I felt the ground shift beneath me. The azure dream was a floating paradise, all sun-soaked decks and endless blue. But beneath the laughter and salt water, something darker simmered. Secrets in stolen glances. Forbidden heat in fleeting touches. I was the only woman among them, caught in a current I couldn't escape, until one starlit night changed everything. What did I uncover on that ship that shattered the life I thought I knew? Picture this. The scent of salt hangs heavy in the air, a relentless reminder of the endless blue stretching out before me as I stand on the edge of something I can't quite name. I'm Lauren, 34, and my life has always been a careful balance of the predictable and the untamed, largely because of the man I've shared the last 6 years with, Thomas. At 38, he's a force of nature, all rugged edges and untamed spirit, with a love for the sea that runs deeper than I'll ever understand. His presence fills a room, that crooked smile of his disarming even the most guarded hearts, and when he looks at me, I still feel the heat of our early days, those stolen moments where the world melted away under his touch. We've carved out a life together, Thomas and I, in a quiet coastal town where the waves are a constant soundtrack. Our marriage isn't without its lulls, those stretches of silence where I wonder if I truly know the man behind the adventurer's grin. But his passion for the ocean, for the thrill of a voyage, always seems to pull us into uncharted waters, both literal and otherwise. And then there are his friends, a tight-knit crew of 8 men who've been by his side since their college days, a brotherhood forged in wild escapades I can only imagine. There's James, 36, with those piercing green eyes that seem to see right through you, his charm a little too smooth, a little too dangerous. Michael, 35, is the quiet one, but his intensity simmers beneath a brooding stare that makes you wonder what he's hiding. David, 37, is the loudest of the bunch, his booming laugh a constant echo, always ready with a quip to break the tension. The others, Ethan, Caleb, Ryan, Nathan, and Liam, each carry their own quirks, their own scars from years of reckless adventures with Thomas. They're a pack, bound by stories I've only heard in fragments, and I've always felt like I'm on the outside looking in. So when Thomas came to me with that glint in his eye, pitching a summer cruise through the Caribbean, I didn't know whether to laugh or run. 10 days on a ship called the Azure Dream, surrounded by this rowdy band of brothers, with me as the only woman in the mix. It sounded like a recipe for disaster. But Thomas has a way of making the impossible seem like the only choice. He wrapped his arms around me, his voice low and persuasive, promising it'd be a chance to bond, to see a side of him I rarely get to witness, the untethered, fearless man he becomes with his crew. I couldn't say no, not when he looked at me like that. Not when I could feel the pull of something deeper in his words, something unspoken. The Azure Dream itself was a marvel, a floating palace that took my breath away the moment we stepped aboard. Polished decks gleamed under the sun, stretching out endlessly under a sky so blue it felt like a painting. I wake up each morning to the rhythmic crash of waves against the hull of the Azure Dream. A sound that's both soothing and wild, like a heartbeat I can't ignore. The salty breeze slips through the open window of our cabin, brushing against my skin as I roll over to find Thomas already awake, his silhouette framed against the dawn. We share quiet moments on our private balcony, sipping strong coffee while the world is still asleep, the ocean stretching out before us like a promise. His hand rests on mine, warm and steady, and for a moment, everything feels perfect, like we've escaped the weight of the everyday. The days on this cruise settle into a rhythm that's almost too idyllic to trust. By mid-morning, I'm lounging by the pool with the group, the sun warming my skin as the men's laughter rings out, loud and unrestrained. They're a force of nature, diving into the water with reckless abandon or spiking a volleyball with enough power to send it flying into the deck chairs. Their tanned bodies catch the light, glistening with sweat and salt water, and I can't help but notice the raw energy they carry, like they're always on the edge of something untamed. James, with those sharp green eyes, catches me watching one afternoon and challenges me to a swim race across the pool. His playful wink sends a flush to my cheeks as I dive in, the cool water a shock against the heat of the moment. He lets me win, I think, splashing me as we reach the edge, his grin teasing in a way that lingers longer than it should. At lunch, Michael often finds a spot beside me, his presence quieter but no less intense. He offers me a slice of mango, his knee brushing against mine under the table, a fleeting touch that feels heavier than it ought to. I catch myself holding my breath, unsure if it's accidental or something more, but his dark eyes don't give anything away. I smile, mumble a thanks, and turn my focus to the plate in front of me, though my pulse doesn't quite settle. These small interactions weave through the days, little threads of something I can't name, pulling at the edges of my thoughts. Evenings are where the magic truly unfolds. We gather on the main deck, a portable speaker blasting tunes as the sun dips below the horizon, painting the sky in hues of amber and violet. Thomas pulls out his guitar, strumming lazy chords, while David belts out lyrics so off-key it's almost endearing. The rest of us sip wine, the cool glass sweating in my hand, and I find myself laughing at their crude humor, the kind of raw, unfiltered banter I'd usually shy away from. Under the starlit sky, the dark ocean mirrors the heavens, creating an otherworldly glow that makes everything feel dreamlike. I'm starting to relax with this crew, letting my guard down bit by bit, their rough edges smoothing out in the warmth of these nights. Thomas keeps me engaged as the evening approaches, a nervous energy buzzing through me, like the hum of the ship's engines beneath my feet. I stand in front of the mirror in our cabin, smoothing down the sleek black dress I've chosen for tonight's private dinner in the captain's cabin. It clings to my curves in a way that feels both daring and vulnerable, the fabric cool against my skin. My heart thumps hard in my chest, a mix of excitement and uncertainty swirling in my mind. I've spent days with Thomas and his crew, feeling those subtle undercurrents of tension, and tonight feels like it might tip the balance into something I can't predict. I take a deep breath, steadying myself, and slip on my heels before stepping out into the dimly lit corridors of the Azure Dream. The sound of my heels clicking against the polished floor echoes in the narrow passageway, each step amplifying the anticipation knotting in my stomach. The ship sways gently, a reminder of the vast ocean surrounding us, and I can't shake the feeling that I'm walking toward something monumental. When I reach the captain's cabin, I pause for a moment, my hand hovering over the heavy wooden door. Then I push it open, and the sight inside catches me off guard. The room is spacious, adorned with nautical decor. Brass instruments on the walls, a large mahogany table set for an intimate gathering, and a panoramic window that frames the endless dark sea under a star-strewn sky. But it's not the setting that stops me. It's James, standing there alone, dressed in a crisp white shirt that contrasts sharply with the intensity of his green eyes. They lock onto mine, and I feel my breath hitch, a sudden heat rising to my cheeks. He steps closer, his presence commanding, and his voice drops low, almost a murmur, as he tells me Thomas will be joining us soon. Before I can respond, his fingers brush along the nape of my neck, a deliberate, feather-light touch that sends a shiver cascading down my spine. I'm frozen, caught between the instinct to pull away and a dangerous pull to lean into it. My mind races. Loyalty to Thomas screams at me to step back, but there's a part of me, raw and curious, that wants to see where this leads. The air between us crackles, thick with unspoken possibilities, and I'm still grappling with my thoughts when the door creaks open again. Michael and David step inside, their expressions unreadable, but there's a charge in their presence, an intent I can't quite decipher. They move closer, too close, and I feel the warmth of their nearness, their hands hovering just near my arms, not quite touching, but close enough that I can sense the heat. Their breaths mingle with the tension in the room, and my pulse quickens, my body caught in a storm of conflicting emotions. Inside, I'm a mess. My devotion to Thomas wars with this forbidden curiosity, a pull I've felt building over days of fleeting glances and subtle touches. James leans in then, his lips near my ear, whispering something suggestive, something that promises more if I let go. My resolve crumbles in that moment, a fragile wall giving way under the weight of temptation. I hesitate, but only for a heartbeat, before I allow their nearness to deepen, their touches becoming bolder, guiding me into a space I never thought I'd cross. My body responds in ways I didn't expect, a rush of heat and thrill coursing through me, and I admit to myself, in the quiet of my mind, that I'm drawn to this. Lost in the allure of the forbidden, it's intoxicating. This dance on the edge of right and wrong, and I let myself sink into it, the world narrowing to the sensations enveloping me. But then, a flicker of movement catches my eye, and I glance toward the door. My heart stops. Thomas is there, standing silently in the threshold, his gaze fixed on us. I brace myself for anger, for betrayal to flash across his face, but there's none of that. Instead, his eyes hold a strange, almost unsettling satisfaction, a look I can't unravel. When he speaks, his voice is calm, steady, cutting through the haze. As I step out of the captain's cabin later that night, my legs tremble beneath me, barely holding my weight. My mind is a storm, churning with the echoes of what just unfolded in that dimly lit room. The air inside had been thick, suffocating with tension and unspoken desires, and now, as I push through the heavy door into the cool night, I feel the weight of it all pressing down on me. My skin is still flushed, burning despite the crisp ocean breeze that hits me like a slap, sharp and sobering. I take a shaky breath, trying to steady myself, but my heart refuses to slow. Pounding so hard, I'm sure it echoes over the gentle lapping of waves against the ship's hull. I glance behind me, half expecting to see James, Michael, or David lingering in the doorway, but they've already dispersed, melting into the night as if nothing out of the ordinary happened. Their casual departure unnerves me more than I can say, like this was just another moment in their world, another chapter in a story I'm only beginning to read. James's sly grin flashes in my mind, those piercing green eyes that seem to unravel me with a single look. Michael's quiet intensity, the way his presence felt like a shadow I couldn't shake, and David, with that booming laugh that had fallen silent in the cabin, replaced by something heavier, more deliberate. I shake my head, trying to push their faces away, but they linger, as does the memory of Thomas standing there, watching with that unreadable expression. I make my way toward the main deck, my steps uneven on the polished wood, the distant sound of music drifting from the ship's lounge. It's a soft melody, some jazzy tune that feels absurdly out of place given the chaos in my head. My fingers brush against the cool metal railing as I walk, grounding me just enough to keep moving. Every word Thomas spoke in that final moment replays in my mind, his voice calm, almost too steady, cutting through the haze of what had transpired. I can't make sense of it, his lack of anger, the strange satisfaction in his eyes. Was it approval? Control? Something darker I don't yet understand? My stomach twists, a mix of guilt and confusion knotting tighter with every step. The night air wraps around me, salty and sharp, cooling the heat that still clings to my skin. I pause for a moment, closing my eyes, letting the vastness of the ocean surround me. The ship sways gently, a reminder of how far I am from solid ground, from anything familiar. And then I see him, Thomas, leaning against the railing a little further down the deck, his silhouette framed against the endless black of the sea. His posture is relaxed, one elbow propped on the rail, his gaze fixed on the horizon as if he's lost in thought. My breath catches, uncertainty rooting me to the spot. Do I approach him? Do I even know what to say after everything? I force my feet to move, each step cautious, like I'm walking on glass. As I draw closer, he turns his head slightly, catching sight of me. A faint smile curves his lips, soft and almost serene, as if the events of the cabin never happened, as if we're just two people on a quiet night at sea. I stop a few feet away, my hands fidgeting at my sides, searching for words that won't come. The silence between us stretches, heavy with everything we're not saying. I expect him to bring it up, to confront me or explain himself. But he doesn't. Instead, he tilts his head back, looking up at the sky, and points to a cluster of stars shimmering above us. "See that?" he says, his voice low, almost reverent. "That's Orion. Always thought it looked like a hunter, standing guard over the night." He traces the constellation with his finger, as if drawing it in the air, and I follow his gaze, caught off guard by the normalcy of the moment. It's like we're any other couple on this cruise, sharing a quiet, romantic interlude under the stars. But I'm not fooled. There's an undercurrent here, a weight to his words that I can't ignore. A hidden depth that pulls me in even as my mind reels from what happened earlier. I nod, my eyes tracing the outline of Orion's belt. But my thoughts are elsewhere, tangled in the memory of the cabin, of the heat and the forbidden rush that still lingers on my skin. Thomas shifts closer, his arm brushing against mine, and I feel the warmth of him, steady and familiar, yet somehow different now, like I'm seeing him through a new lens. "Come with me," he says softly, his voice carrying a quiet command that I can't resist. He takes my hand, his grip firm but gentle, and leads me away from the main deck, up a narrow staircase to the upper level of the Azure Dream. The ship's lights begin to dim as we ascend, the glow fading into soft pools of amber that barely reach the edges of the deck. The world feels smaller up here, more intimate, as if we've stepped into a private realm where only the two of us exist. The sound of the waves grows louder, a rhythmic pulse that mirrors the pounding in my chest, and the salty breeze tugs at my hair as we walk toward the bow, the very front of the ship. The ocean stretches out before us, an endless expanse of inky black under a blanket of stars that seem to shimmer with secrets of their own. It's breathtaking, almost overwhelming, the vastness of it all making me feel both insignificant and alive in a way I can't describe. Thomas stops suddenly, his hand still holding mine, and turns to face me. His expression is serious, yet there's a tenderness in his eyes that catches me off guard, a softness I haven't seen in a long time. The starlight casts shadows across his rugged features, highlighting the lines of experience etched into his face. And for a moment, I'm reminded of why I fell for him all those years ago, his ability to make the world feel both wild and safe at the same time. "Lauren," he begins, his voice low, almost a whisper against the sound of the sea. "I've always wanted to explore the edges with you, to push past what everyone else thinks love and trust should look like. Tonight." It was my way of testing those waters, of seeing how far we could go together. His words hit me like a wave, crashing over the confusion and guilt that have been swirling inside me since I left the cabin. My breath catches, shock rippling through me as I process what he's saying. He arranged it. Everything that happened down there. The charged moments with James, Michael, and David. The way I let myself be swept into something so far beyond my boundaries. It wasn't a betrayal, it was a test, a carefully orchestrated step into the unknown, guided by his hand. I stand there, frozen, my mind racing with a storm of emotions. Part of me is reeling, grappling with the idea that he planned for me to cross that line, to feel the rush of something so forbidden under his watchful gaze. There's confusion, a tangle of questions about what this means for us, about how I could have been so blind to his intentions. But beneath it all, there's something else, a strange sense of liberation, like a weight I didn't know I was carrying has been lifted. I look into his eyes, searching for any hint of doubt or regret, but there's none. Just a quiet certainty, a belief in what we could become if I'm willing to take this leap with him. His hand moves to my cheek, his thumb brushing against my skin in a way that sends a shiver down my spine. He steps closer, his breath warm against my ear as he leans in, his voice dropping even lower. "Next time, we'll do it under the stars," he murmurs, his words laced with a promise that's both thrilling and terrifying. I realize he's not joking. He's already envisioning another moment like tonight. But out here, in the open, with the night sky bearing witness to whatever boundaries we choose to shatter. My heart races at the thought, a mix of fear and exhilaration coursing through me. Fear of judgment, of what others might think if they knew, of what might happen if we continue down this path. As the days on the Azure Dream wind down, I find myself caught in a strange new rhythm, a quiet aftermath to the storm of that unforgettable night. The ship continues its journey through the Caribbean, the endless blue of the ocean, a constant mirror to my swirling thoughts. I spend long hours on deck, the sun warming my skin, the salty breeze tugging at my hair, trying to piece together who I am now that I've stepped over a line I never imagined crossing. The memory of that evening in the captain's cabin lingers like a shadow, coloring every moment, every interaction. It's not just in my mind, it's in the subtle shifts I notice among Thomas's friends. James, with his sharp green eyes, throws me knowing smirks across the pool deck, a silent acknowledgement of the secret we share, a glint of mischief that makes my cheeks flush, even as I look away. Michael's gaze lingers a little too long when we pass each other in the narrow corridors, his dark eyes holding an intensity that sends a shiver down my spine, as if he's replaying those charged moments in his mind. David, always the joker, nudges me playfully at dinner, his elbow brushing mine with a teasing grin, a wordless reminder of the boundaries we blurred together. It's unspoken, but it's there, a thread of tension weaving through the group. A quiet understanding that something has changed, but it's with Thomas that I feel the deepest shift. In the days that follow, we grow closer in a way I hadn't anticipated, bound by the weight of what we've shared. There are secret smiles exchanged over breakfast, his hand brushing mine under the table when no one's looking, a silent promise in the way his fingers linger. We steal touches in fleeting moments, his arm around my waist as we walk the deck, the warmth of his breath against my ear when he whispers something only I can hear. It's as if that night has stripped away a layer between us, leaving something raw and real in its place. I catch myself watching him more closely, noticing the way his rugged features soften when he looks at me, the way his laughter carries a new depth, like he's seeing me in a different light. We don't speak of what happened, not directly, but it's there in every glance, every touch, a silent pact that ties us tighter than ever. The last night on board arrives too soon, and I find myself standing with Thomas at the stern of the ship, the vast ocean stretching out behind us like a canvas of midnight blue. The air is cooler now, the breeze carrying a hint of finality as it tugs at my dress, the fabric fluttering against my skin. The horizon is a thin line of fading light, the last traces of sunset swallowed by the night, and above us the stars burn bright, a million tiny witnesses to the journey we've taken. Thomas stands beside me, his shoulder brushing mine, his presence a steady anchor in the midst of my swirling emotions. I feel the weight of our shared secret, a bond forged in the heat of something forbidden, something I never thought I'd embrace. It's heavy, but it's also exhilarating, like holding a flame that could either warm me or burn everything down. I turn to look at him, and his eyes meet mine, deep and unreadable, yet filled with a quiet intensity that makes my heart skip. We don't need words in this moment. The silence speaks for us, carrying the depth of what we've become. Back on land, the return to normalcy hits like a cold wave. Our quiet suburban home feels smaller somehow, the familiar walls of our coastal town closing in after the endless expanse of the sea. I go through the motions, work, errands, the mundane rhythm of everyday life, but nothing feels the same. The clatter of dishes in the sink, the hum of the lawnmower on a Saturday morning, the distant crash of waves I've heard 1,000 times, they're all charged with the memory of the cruise, tinted by the echo of that night. I catch myself staring out the kitchen window, lost in thought, the scent of salt still lingering in my mind, the feel of the ship's sway beneath my feet, a ghost I can't shake. Even though I try to move on, the memories linger. Don't forget to subscribe, like, and comment if you enjoyed this story. This will help us create more engaging stories for you.